Welcome on the Joyful Mate podcast. How are you, Anna Marie Frank?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me.
So great to have you on the show. Really looking for your insights on happiness. But before we get into happiness, let's talk about your background and how you've arrived at what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I am a doctor of traditional naturopathy. I also specialize in brain health. And I got into this because, well, I had to heal my own brain. And we really work on increasing people's brain function, decreasing body inflammation, and restoring people's foundations of health, which impact their mood. And their brain is our brains are only 2% of our body, yet it utilizes up to 20-25% of all the oxygen, nutrients that we put in. Most people, one, are not breathing deep enough to get enough oxygen, or they are lacking nutrients. And so we figure out a way to help them restore their foundations of health so their brain is optimal and functioning well. And we do that at our wellness center here in Bakersfield, California. But then I also work with people remotely as well. So that's what we do.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Anna Marie. Now let's get into the topic of happiness. Now let's start with, what is happiness to you?
Well, I can choose to embrace and have. And to me, happiness is being okay inside when everything around you seems to be crumbling.
And what do you do to foster that inner happiness?
Well, I think maybe I had to hit rock bottom first to appreciate, to just appreciate true happiness. And honestly, it was coming from a place of gratitude. And instead of viewing the world through the lens of lack and viewing the world through a lens of, thinking things aren't available to me or things aren't working out. When I started to shift my perspective of life and started to look for what was going good for me, what was the positive things in my life, I started to realize my happiness within me was coming out even more, because our brain does this beautiful thing of filtering the world to validate and see exactly what you're telling it. So when I was telling myself that, life was not great due to so many different circumstances, I kept seeing all of those negativities all around me every single day. And so it's shifting that lens in which you see the world that can be really, really helpful.
And have you got some tips as to what you do on a regular basis to shift that perspective?
Well, first and foremost, moments of gratitude. I constantly have a conversation with God, higher being, whatever you believe in, but there's always this dialogue that is taking place. I mean, I even do simply, if I get an email, a positive email, I always say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I'm constantly having an inner dialogue of gratitude and appreciation for really small things, really big things. And that really helps. And I do want to share with the listeners too, it took me a journey to get here. I was in my early 20s on multiple medications, not wanting to be alive, and really in some of the darkest moments of my life. And so, I remember the psychiatrist telling me, well, you just have to learn to love yourself. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, you're telling somebody who is on antidepressants and having all of these mental health issues to just love yourself. Like, it was like nonchalant, just love yourself. But what I realized was it's really hard to love yourself and be in gratitude and choose happiness when you're not doing lovable, kind things for yourself and to yourself. So I think that's another piece of happiness is choosing you and choosing the things that are going to add value to your health, to your happiness, to, all areas of your life, and looking at your life more from a whole perspective versus just like this one thing, right? It's never just the one thing. It's the wholeness of all that really impacts us the most.
Yeah, so very true. It's that sum of all the parts,
Yeah.
Yeah, so just on the sum of all the parts, like you mentioned, self-love is to have self-love, we need to accept who we are, right? And I think a lot of young people struggle with this accepting who they are and wanting to be someone else, and wanting this part of this other person and this part of so it's sort of like creating a Lego character or something, but yeah. So how did you go about just accepting you as you and really embracing you, and then and then the next step is obviously then harnessing those superpowers that you have. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did you go about doing that?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I get the comparison game. That's what happens is we sit here and we compare who we are, where we're at, our chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 2, 3, 4, 10, which is really easy to do. And when we're comparing ourselves, the thing is one, we should never compare, but we do. So it's like, okay, can I look to these people or these persons for inspiration, but recognizing that none of us are supposed to do things the same. None of us are supposed to be, there's no right formula, for finance and business. Like there's just not. Like everyone's supposed to find their own way in the world and put their own unique spin on it. Now, I think when we are not being true to our authentic self, like who we know we are inside, when we hold back from saying the things that we feel like we need to say, when we don't show all the quirkiness and goofiness within ourselves, within our business or within our relationships, and we're holding back, that really hinders our happiness, but also it hinders us. So then we're like constantly looking outside ourselves and comparing ourselves to other people versus really not caring about what other people think or feel about how we're doing things and showing up. And as long as we have integrity and, we're being who we truly say we are, I think that's really the winning piece to limiting the comparison game, because it's a lot easier to not compare when you're in alignment with your true authentic self and what you were sent here to do on earth in this year, because I feel like we all come here with a mission. And I think if you're outside your mission, that's when you feel depressed. That's when you are comparing yourself more than other times. But when you get in alignment, it really helps to, limit that comparison game.
Absolutely, that alignment to purpose, which is another big question. So I'm going to get to the how you discovered your purpose or mission and keeping in alignment to that. But I just wanted to cycle back in terms of I've actually trying to think of that train of thought I had, but it will come to me. So let's get on to mission and how you discovered mission, and I'm sure the train of thought I had will come back to me.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, since I was younger, I always knew that I had a big mission in this lifetime. And that mission has unfolded in front of me in many different ways. But the root of it always is to help people heal and to help people discover what they have within them. And, in this literally year that we're in and the craziness, at least in America, this whole pharmaceutical industry, the whole, you're not the sum of your parts, right? Like the whole reduction approach. It's like, I think my indigestion and my acid reflux is, just take a Tums or just do this, when really it's a deeper emotional and physical thing that's going on. So I've just always known that I'm supposed to help people feel okay inside. And help them see that their body is giving them information. Their body's not working against them. Like we all need to love our body and do lovable things to our body and for our body. So our body will respond in a loving way. When our body is, I call it acting out, when we're having hip pain, when we're having knee pain, or, we're having these thyroid issues, all of these are the body's way of saying, hey, I need some help. Something is going on within me. And approaching it from the viewpoint of, okay, body, like you would a little child, what is it that you need? How can I help you? How can I support you? And so I know that's my mission, to get people to kind of view their body and the language their body's giving them through that lens, and through a lens of caring for themselves and taking care of themselves and not putting their health and well-being in the hands of somebody else, because you know more about your body than anyone else. And so I think that that's important. And then at the end of the day, the reason my company is called Happy Whole You is because I believe we all want to truly be happy. But to be happy, we must work on the wholeness of our lives. And that choice is up to you. So we get to decide, that happiness and choose that happiness. But I definitely know that my mission is to, one, help people find that, but help them heal their body and live in a body that allows them to access that happiness.
I just had my train of thought flow back in, so it's,
Okay.
I'm back on track. So, and it all aligns to how you said, look, from an early age, you knew that you were a healer and you just wanted to go out and heal people. And you mentioned before that it was really important to connect with the inner voice and allow the inner voice to come out in you to show people who you are. Now, there's this challenge that people get stuck there because they're thinking, yeah, I want to speak out, but I might offend that person. Or they doubt themselves because they're comparing themselves to someone else and their career, and they're going like doing something totally different to healing, and they're thinking, oh, you'd be really good at that, or, you should do, so you've got all these outer voices that,
Yeah.
I guess, squashing this inner voice. And I just wanted, because you obviously had those really dark days and that inner voice was talking to you all the time, but you're holding back and thinking, do I allow this me to come out? So how did you go about getting that, really, just breaking that stuckness and really allowing the inner voice to start speaking and really speak your needs?
Yeah, I think part of it was recognizing that your inner compass is very light and very gentle. The inner voice that is constantly going, telling you you're not good enough and all of that, that's not really you. You're the one witnessing that voice. And so there's a big difference between the two. So I had to really adjust of it's almost like we have the voice and then we have who we are witnessing that voice, if that makes sense. And then I discovered, his name is Michael Singer, he's a author, and he writes about this, and I was like, my gosh, this is such good stuff. So it is recognizing that voice and then who you are witnessing that voice. And what was the other question? I feel I'm wait, what? Where was I going with this? Sorry, go ahead.
So, you're saying, from an early age, you had this inner healing ability, but obviously we have all these influences that are teachers, preachers, parents, and all these people that share with us how they would like us to grow up, or what we should do and things like that. And so you had this healing voice within. So how did you go about saying, this is who I am, and then starting to speak up against those that are telling you that, yeah.
Okay. Well, first I didn't listen to that voice, and that's why I got sick. That's why I was struggling with depression. That's why I've had different health ailments throughout my life that have come and gone, because I wasn't listening to that inner voice. I wasn't listening to that inner calling. And it was really, really apparent around 38 years old, 39 years old. I was in an 18-year career, and I knew I needed to leave to pursue my independent wellness center and how I work with people now. But I was good at that job. I made a lot of money at that job. So I kept telling myself, you can't leave this. You have, retirement. There's all these reasons why you shouldn't leave. And what happened is my body started to say, I need to speak up to you. I need to get your attention. And I was actually at 39 years old, scheduled for a hip replacement. I also had autoimmune markers coming up in my blood work. And here I am. I understand that the body is speaking to me, but even knowing what I know, I was trying to ignore it. And I remember I was sitting there and I was scheduled for my hip replacement. I was like, Mom, I need you to fly out, help me with the kids. And I literally got off the phone with her and I was like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? You of all people know. And what's interesting is your hip is all about stepping forward in your life. Your hip is all about emotional support, also financial burdens. And so I was scared, how am I going to replace this 6-figure income that I've been earning? How am I going to, do all these things? And then it was I got this real clear vision of, at 40 years old, you are walking away. And you need to trust in the process. Everything's going to be fine. And I literally gave my notice. And on my 40th birthday was my very last day. And literally within months, my hip pain dissipated. And within a few months, all my blood work came back totally fine. This is bananas, right? And so it's this calling that we do. We ignore it. but it will speak louder and louder and louder. And that may come with a relationship breaking up. That may come with physical ailments going on. That may come with mental health, anxiety, depression. It is going to show up in your world really in a not great way, because this is the body and the biofield and the universe saying, you need to change. I don't know how much more uncomfortable I can make you, but you need to change. So there's two choices. We either change and get clear on where we're going, or we succumb to it and we become a victim of our own lives. And we become a victim and we blame everyone else. In my early 20s, that's what I did. I blamed everybody else for my circumstances. Nothing was good. I went to a doctor. He put me on 3 mind-altering medications in my early 20s, and it was everybody else's fault until I got to rock bottom and I had that choice again. Which way are you going to go? And I'm glad I took the other way, but it's interesting how, we'll show up again. There's another fork in the road. Where are we going to go? And we can ignore our calling for only so long. And it's going to just become apparently clear that you need to make a change. And it's like, it happens just like, almost like that when you hit that bottom part.
So you really had to take risks, like step out of your comfort zone. You were saying, earning a 6-figure salary and everything was like, pretty comfortable. And in essence, you needed to, you wanted to pursue your mission. So you thought, well, I need to give up that 6-figure salary, which is going to cause some discomfort. And you really stepped into that space of unknown, uncertainty, and risk. But obviously I can see yourself thriving in this space at the moment when I see all your LinkedIn posts and keynote speaking, and you have really found your voice in this process, and you're very aligned to your mission. And as you said before we started recording, was I'm here to serve. And so you can tell that you're on mission, and you've really listened to that inner voice, and you've I guess taken the steps to fostering that inner voice. So
I was going to say too, I want to recognize that it's okay to leverage where you're at as well. So, there's a lot of people out there that are not happy where they're at. And so it's like, what's possible if you started to allow yourself to enjoy where you're at and then started to trickle in your meaning where you're at to leverage where you're at? Because, for me, I probably should have left that job a few years prior to that. I know I should have, but I wasn't listening, right? I wasn't ready to do it, to comprehend it. But what I was doing is I was doing a little bit of things on the side, right? To fill that need that I had of, educating myself, showing up in the way that I do today. And I started to leverage where I was at. So I encourage anyone out there, if you feel like you have a deeper calling and you're like, well, I can't just quit my job, right? I'd rather have you leverage where you're at, but I'd rather have, I wish everyone would do this, trickle in and start feeding that inner calling as much as you can. It's not an all or nothing thing. You just have to start. You just have to start doing the little things to feed that inner calling. It's just starting is so important. If we all followed our inner calling, this world would be like a crazy, amazing, even better place than it is right now.
Yeah, so stop listening to those outside voices, acknowledge the inside voice and take those steps. Is very much what you're saying is, and take just small steps. As you said, it's leveraging where you're at, like go about doing some things in parallel, to start this transition, but just making some progress by, acknowledging the inner voice and following that path. I really just summarizing what you've shared with me was very much that happiness isn't external. Like if you externalize happiness, then it's dependent on things outside of you, which you have no control over. So what you did was realize that happiness is from within. And the important things to foster that happiness is around giving thanks for what you have and just being more aware of the things around you that are working for you. Like, so that there's a real shift in perception, because I think prior to that, you were perceiving things as against you, like the world's against me and everything's a struggle. Once you started to recognize that happiness is within my control. I'm going to foster this by acknowledging what I have and start recognizing that and give thanks to that. And so you started doing the gratitude. And then you mentioned it was really important to, go on purpose and stay on mission and make sure that the actions you're taking are all about alignment to that mission, and do that every day. Have you got any other things that really helped you in this fostering this internal happiness?
Well, a couple things. One, not taking advice and having conversations with people that aren't happy in their own life. It's so crazy. We'll take business advice, financial advice from, Joe Schmo down the street. And it's like, what are we doing here? So we need to all stop doing that. The other thing I started to do was I started to invest in myself. I started to hire coaches. I started to take different courses, reading books, personal growth. And I just got done doing this course. I spent like $10,000 on it. And I mean, me even 5 years ago to spend $10,000 on a course, I'm like, you're crazy, right? I mean, but it's interesting because we justify getting a college education and what that costs, but we don't actually appreciate the value of hiring a coach, of taking a course from somebody who has done the thing that you're looking to do in your own way, right? And giving you a few of the steps, a few of the nuggets. And so I think that those are two really important things, is to stop listening to the people that are not where you want to be and hire the people that are in the arena of where you want to be, and take the little nuggets from them, but then you have to put your own spin on it. You have to make it your own. And I think that that's a really important thing that I wish I would have known about a long time ago, but I'm glad I'm doing it now.
And I guess the benefit of doing it your way is that you have this story that people can connect with, in terms of you were that lost soul or that person that really was struggling with life, but you've been able to turn that around through these tips that you've just shared. And I think that's really powerful in terms of, well, you walk the talk, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you've been in my situation. You got yourself out of this situation, and you know how to do it. So I guess that sort of leads me into, how can the listeners best connect with you and get this guidance if they're feeling stuck and unable to unleash that inner voice and don't know the next step? And so how can they best connect with you?
Yeah. So I actually just started my own personal Instagram page, which is dr.anna.marie on Instagram. My wellness center is on Instagram, Happy Whole You. And both there's drannamarie.com and happywholeyou.com. And yeah, I mean, I do coach people, and I don't really call it coaching. It's way more than that. But I will be in 2025. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I am taking on 4 new one-on-one clients where I work with them. And we just work on changing your mindset, rewiring the brain, and reprogramming your life and what's possible.
Fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and to the listeners, I'll incorporate all those links that Anna mentioned in the show notes so that you can go directly to those links. And if you're looking for that support in 2025, then Anna's got some opportunities to support and not coach, but maybe mentor.
Yeah, it's I don't know. And if I'm not for you, I probably know someone that can help you if we're not a good fit, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So thanks again, Dr. Anna Marie Frank. It's been a delight to have you on the show and to be the 3rd interviewed guest. And I really value your insights around happiness and how people can unleash that inner joy and that authentic self and really thrive like you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you, listeners, for your continued support. And if you know of anyone out there that's stuck and struggling and really, can't find this inner joy, then please share this episode with them. There's a lot of gold nuggets from Dr. Anna Marie Frank. So thank you.